I'm the embarrassing plus one your mother warned you about. The guy who doesn't know which fork to use at fancy dinners. The one who shows up to country club events in last season's discount blazer while everyone else glitters in designer labels that cost more than my monthly rent. At least, that's what Victoria wanted everyone to believe. My name is Tom Granger, and until 3 weeks ago, I was engaged to the most beautiful, ambitious, and soul-crushingly cruel woman I'd ever met. Victoria Hayes, corporate lawyer, social climber extraordinaire, and expert in the fine art of making me feel like something she'd scraped off her Louboutin heels. The thing about being underestimated is that people stop watching what they say around you. They assume you're too stupid or too broken to notice. They get sloppy. And when they get sloppy, they make mistakes. Victoria's mistake was forgetting to lock her phone. It was a Tuesday night. She'd come over to my modest two-bedroom apartment in the less fashionable part of town, the place she refused to move into after we got engaged, insisting we wait until we could afford something appropriate for her career. Translation: somewhere her law firm partners wouldn't be embarrassed to visit. She was in the shower, and her phone kept buzzing on my coffee table. I wasn't trying to snoop. I swear I wasn't. But when you see a text preview that says, "Last night was incredible," he doesn't deserve you. Curiosity isn't just a temptation, it's a goddamn requirement. I picked up her phone. The messages were from Grant Morrison, a high-powered investment banker she'd mentioned exactly once, calling him insufferable at a dinner party. Apparently, insufferable translated to the guy I'm sleeping with behind my fiance's back. The texts were detailed, dirty, the kind of thing that would make a gossip columnist weep with joy. Grant describing what he wanted to do to her, Victoria responding with equal enthusiasm, including a particularly charming message. "Tom's sweet, but he's so ordinary. You make me feel alive." I sat there, phone in hand, listening to the shower run. My first instinct was rage. My second was heartbreak. But my third instinct, the one that stuck, was something colder. Calculating. See, Victoria didn't know something about me. Something I'd kept quiet for years, mostly because I liked my privacy and didn't want to deal with the social circus that came with it. My father, Richard Granger, owned the Gilded Pines Country Club, not managed, owned. The entire property, all 200 acres of manicured lawns, championship golf courses, and old money prestige. The club Victoria had been desperately trying to get into for the past 2 years. The club where she'd finally secured a provisional membership 3 months ago and had been bragging about to anyone who'd listen. She had no idea the unambitious, embarrassing boyfriend she kept around for reasons I still didn't fully understand was the heir to the kingdom she worshipped. When Victoria came out of the shower, wrapped in one of my threadbare towels, I was sitting exactly where she'd left me, her phone back on the table. "You're quiet," she said, toweling her hair. "Something wrong?" I smiled. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About Saturday. Your big club event. The summer gala." Her face lit up, actually lit up, like I'd just told her she'd made partner. "Oh my God, yes. I'm so excited. Celeste got us a table with all the right people. This is huge for my career, Tom." "I'm sure it is." She caught something in my tone. "You're not going to embarrass me, are you?" There it was. The casual cruelty she'd perfected. Not even dressed up as concern, just straight contempt. "Would I do that?" I asked. "You showed up to the spring mixer with a stain on your shirt." "It was water. It looked like you'd spilled something. People noticed." "I'm sure they did." She sighed, sitting down next to me. "Look, Tom, I know you try. I do. But this is important. These people, they're my future. Our future. I need you to, I don't know, try harder. Can you do that for me?" I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd planned to marry. The woman who'd just asked me to try harder while she was screwing a married banker and calling me ordinary behind my back. "I'll do my best," I said. She kissed my cheek. "That's all I ask." That night, after she left, I called my father. "Tom," he answered, voice warm. "It's late. Everything okay?" "Dad, I need a favor. Name it. The summer gala this Saturday. I'm coming. And I need you to make sure everyone knows exactly who I am." There was a pause. My father knew I'd always kept my connection to the club quiet. I'd asked him years ago not to make a big deal about it. I wanted to build my own life, my own identity, without the shadow of his success. "You sure about this?" he asked. "Completely sure." This about Victoria. My father had met her exactly once. He'd been polite, charming even, But afterward, he'd pulled me aside and said, "She's ambitious. Just make sure you know what she's ambitious for." I should have listened. "Yeah," I said. "It's about Victoria." "Then consider it done." The next few days were a masterclass in acting. Victoria came over twice, each time talking excitedly about the gala, about who would be there, about how this was her chance to really establish herself in the right social circles. "Celeste knows everyone," she gushed on Thursday night, "and Harper's bringing that influencer guy, Neil something. He's got like 500,000 followers. Can you imagine?" "Sounds impressive," I said, watching her pace my living room. "And Grant Morrison will be there," she added, too casually. "You remember him, right? From that dinner party? The insufferable one?" She laughed, a little too high-pitched. "Right, yeah. He's actually not that bad once you get to know him. Very connected. Married to some old money heiress. How nice for him." She stopped pacing, looking at me. "You're being weird." "Am I?" "Yes. You're being, I don't know, quiet, more than usual." I stood up, walking over to her. "I'm just thinking about Saturday, making sure I don't embarrass you." Her expression softened. "Tom, I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did. But it's fine. I get it. I'm not exactly country club material, right?" "That's not what I said. It's what you meant." She touched my face, her hand cool against my cheek. "I just want us to fit in, both of us. Is that so wrong?" "Not at all," I said, smiling. "I want that, too." She kissed me, and I let her, thinking about Grant Morrison and his text messages. Thinking about her friends, who I'd overheard at a party last month, debating whether Victoria was slumming it with me, or if I had some hidden quality they couldn't see. Turns out, I did have a hidden quality. They just hadn't been looking in the right direction. Writer Chembed. Saturday arrived with perfect weather. Sunny, 75 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. The kind of day that made the Gilded Pines Country Club look like something out of a magazine spread. I'd been there 1,000 times growing up, knew every corner of the property, every staff member by name. But I'd never arrived like this. I pulled up to the main entrance in my modest sedan. The same car Victoria had once called serviceable, with a wrinkle of her nose. The valet, Danny, a kid I'd known since he was in high school, grinned when he saw me. "Mr. Granger," he said, opening my door. "Good to see you, sir. Your father said you'd be coming." "Thanks, Danny. How's your mom?" "Much better. Thanks for asking. That recommendation letter you wrote got her the job at the hospital." "Glad to hear it." Victoria hadn't arrived yet. She'd insisted on coming separately, wanting to arrive with Celeste and Harper for maximum impact. I'd agreed, knowing it would make what came next even better. I walked through the main entrance, past the marble columns and crystal chandeliers, into the grand ballroom where the gala was being held. The room was already filling with people, men in expensive suits, women in designer dresses, everyone holding champagne flutes and laughing that particular laugh rich people do when they're networking. My father stood near the bar, talking to the club president. When he saw me, his face broke into a genuine smile. "Tom," he called out, loud enough that several people turned. "There's my boy." He crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling me into a hug. Around us, conversations paused. People stared. "Dad," I said, matching his volume. "Thanks for setting this up." "Are you kidding? It's about time you took your place here. Come on, there are people you need to meet." For the next 30 minutes, my father paraded me around the ballroom like a prize stallion. The club president, the board members, the heads of various committees. Each introduction was the same. "This is my son, Tom. He'll be taking over operations next year." Tom's been keeping a low profile, but he knows this place better than anyone. My heir apparent finally convinced him to step into the spotlight. People's reactions were fascinating. Some recognized my name and put the pieces together immediately. Others were clearly confused, trying to figure out how this guy in the off-the-rack suit was related to Richard Granger. But all of them, every single one, shifted their body language the moment they understood. Suddenly I was interesting, worth talking to, worth knowing. I was scanning the room, waiting for Victoria, when I heard her voice. "Oh my God, Celeste. This is incredible. Look at this place." She stood at the entrance with her friends. Celeste, a blonde woman who looked like she'd been born with a champagne flute in her hand. Harper, brunette and sharp-eyed, always hunting for gossip. And 2 guys I vaguely recognized, Neil and Addison, both wearing suits that cost more than my car. Victoria looked stunning. She always did. Red dress, perfectly fitted. Her dark hair swept up in some complicated style that probably required a professional. She was scanning the room, clearly looking for important people to network with. She hadn't seen me yet. I excused myself from the conversation I was having with a board member and started walking toward her. My father, catching my eye, gave me a small nod. "Victoria," I called out. She turned, and her expression went through several rapid changes. Surprise at seeing me, confusion about why I was here first, and then, as she noticed people watching us, a forced smile. "Tom, you made it. Wouldn't miss it." She walked over, her friends trailing behind. "You remember Celeste and Harper, right? And this is Neil and Addison." "Of course," I said, shaking hands. "Welcome to Gilded Pines." Celeste laughed. "Welcome, Tom. You sound like you own the place." I smiled. "Funny you should say that." Before Victoria could respond, my father appeared at my elbow. "Tom, the Hendersons want to say hello." "Oh, and Victoria, lovely to see you again." Victoria's smile became more genuine. She loved my father, mostly because he was successful, and she thought it reflected well on her that her fiancé came from good stock, as she'd once put it. "Mr. Granger, thank you so much for having us. This is incredible." "My pleasure. Though I should be thanking you for finally getting Tom to come to one of these events. I've been trying for years." Celeste's eyes narrowed slightly. "Wait, Tom. Have you been here before?" "Once or twice," I said. My father laughed. "Once or twice. Tom, you practically grew up here." "Ladies and gentlemen, let me properly introduce my son, Tom Granger, future owner and operator of Gilded Pines Country Club." The silence that followed was delicious. Victoria's face went pale. "What? Didn't he tell you?" my father asked, all innocence. "Tom's been running the business side of operations for the past 3 years, working remotely. He's taking over full management next spring." Harper's mouth literally fell open. Addison looked like he'd been slapped. Neil pulled out his phone, probably already Googling to confirm. But it was Celeste's reaction I enjoyed most. Her entire demeanor changed in an instant, from barely tolerating me to leaning forward, suddenly fascinated. "Tom, I had no idea. Why didn't you say something?" "I prefer to keep my personal and professional lives separate," I said, looking directly at Victoria. "I don't like to use my family connections to impress people. I'd rather they get to know the real me first." Victoria's jaw clenched. She was smart enough to know what I was really saying. I'd been testing her, and she'd failed spectacularly. "That's so refreshing," Harper said, touching my arm. "Most people in your position would be bragging about it constantly." "Tom's always been humble," my father said proudly. "Sometimes too humble. But he's brilliant with the business. Increased our membership revenue by 30% in 2 years." "Impressive," Addison said, suddenly interested in being my best friend. Victoria found her voice. "Tom, can I talk to you, privately?" "Of course. Excuse us." I led her away from the group, toward a quieter corner near the terrace doors. Behind us, I could hear her friends already talking, their voices excited. The social calculus had just shifted dramatically, and they were recalibrating. "Why didn't you tell me?" Victoria hissed once we were alone. "Tell you what? Don't play dumb. Your father owns this place? You never asked." "I never." "Tom, this is huge. Do you know how many doors this opens? How many connections?" "I'm aware." She stared at me. "Why are you being like this?" "Like what?" "Cold. Distant. You've been weird all week." I looked at her, this woman I'd almost married, this woman who'd been sleeping with Grant Morrison, while telling me I wasn't good enough for her world. "I've been thinking," I said carefully, "about us. About what you said the other day." "What did I say? That I embarrass you?" She had the grace to look uncomfortable. "Tom, I didn't mean." "Yes, you did. And you know what? You're right. I do embarrass you, because I don't care about the things you care about, the designer clothes, the social climbing, the desperate need to impress people who don't actually matter. These people do matter. They're my career." "No, Victoria. They're your obsession. There's a difference." Before she could respond, Grant Morrison walked into the ballroom. He was everything I wasn't, tall, handsome in that generic Ken doll way, wearing a suit that probably cost $5,000. His wife was on his arm, a thin woman with tired eyes who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. Grant saw Victoria and smiled. Not a big smile, just a small, knowing one. The kind of smile that said they had secrets. Victoria saw him too, and I watched the color drain from her face. "Oh God," she whispered. "Something wrong?" I asked innocently. "No, I didn't know he'd be here." "Grant Morrison?" "Yeah, he's a member. Has been for years. Nice guy. Well, except for the whole serial cheating thing. His wife's filed for divorce twice, but she keeps taking him back. Sad, really." Victoria looked at me sharply. "How do you know that? I told you. I grew up here. You hear things." Grant was making his way through the crowd, heading in our direction. Victoria looked like she wanted to run. "Tom," she said quickly, "we should go back to my friends." "In a minute. I want to say hello to Grant." "No, really, we should," but it was too late. Grant had spotted us. "Victoria," he called out, all fake enthusiasm. "And Tom, right? Victoria's fiancé?" "That's right," I said, shaking his hand firmly. "Grant Morrison. I've heard a lot about you." Something flickered in his eyes. "All good things, I hope. Depends on your definition of good." Victoria's hand gripped my arm. "Tom, don't." Grant's smile became strained. "I'm not sure I follow." "Oh, I think you do. But this isn't the time or place. Maybe later we can have a more private conversation about mutual interests." I let the words hang there, watching Grant's face cycle through confusion, realization, and then carefully controlled panic. "I'm not sure what you're implying," he said slowly. "I'm not implying anything, just making conversation. Nice to meet you properly, Grant. Victoria's told me so much about you. In great detail, actually." I walked away, leaving them standing there, Victoria's face white as paper. Behind me, I heard Grant say quietly, "What the hell did you tell him?" I didn't hear Victoria's response. I didn't need to. The rest of the gala was a masterpiece of social theater. Word spread quickly about who I was, and suddenly everyone wanted to talk to me. People who'd ignored me at previous events Victoria had dragged me to. People who'd looked through me like I was furniture. Now they were my best friends. Celeste attached herself to my side, asking about membership applications for her friends. Harper wanted to know if I could get her connected with the club's event planner. Neil asked if he could do an Instagram feature on exclusive country club life. Addison wanted investment advice. And Victoria? Victoria stood at the edge of conversations, watching her friends abandon her for me, watching her carefully constructed social network realign around a new center of gravity. The best part came around 9 o'clock, when my father asked me to say a few words to the assembled guests. I stood at the microphone, looking out at 200 people in formal wear, champagne glasses raised. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I began. "For those who don't know me, I'm Tom Granger, Richard's son. I've been working behind the scenes here at Gilded Pines for several years, and I'm excited to take on a more public role." Polite applause. "I've learned a lot in that time, about business, about management, about people. But the most important lesson I've learned is this: character matters more than connections. Integrity matters more than image. And the people worth knowing are the ones who treat you the same, whether you're the owner's son or the guy parking their car." I looked directly at Victoria. "Some people only value you for what you can do for them. They measure your worth by your usefulness. Those people aren't friends. They're opportunists, and they're not welcome in my club." The room had gone very quiet. "So here's my promise to you all. Gilded Pines will always be a place that values character first. We'll welcome anyone who shows respect, kindness, and integrity. And we'll show the door to anyone who doesn't, no matter how much money they have, no matter who they know." More applause, this time genuine. "Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you." I stepped away from the microphone. My father clapped me on the shoulder, grinning. "That was perfect," he said quietly. Victoria was gone. I scanned the room and spotted her on the terrace, talking urgently on her phone. Probably to Grant. I walked outside. The night air was cool, the sound of music and laughter drifting from the ballroom. "Can't believe this is happening," Victoria was saying. "He knows. I don't know how, but he knows." "We know, Shove. I cleared my throat. She spun around, phone clutched to her chest. "Tom, Grant?" I asked, nodding at the phone. She didn't deny it. What was the point? "How long have you known?" she asked quietly. "Long enough." "Are you going to tell people?" "Tell them what? That my fiancé has been sleeping with a married man while calling me ordinary behind my back? That she's been using me as a placeholder until someone better came along?" Tears filled her eyes. Real ones, I thought. Maybe the first real emotion she'd shown me in months. "I'm sorry," she whispered, No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. Tom, please, we can work this out. I made a mistake. I'll end it with Grant. We can start over. Why would I want that? Because you love me. I looked at her, really looked at her. You know what's funny? I did love you. Past tense. I loved who I thought you were. But that person doesn't exist. Maybe she never did. That's not fair. Fair? Victoria, you've spent our entire relationship treating me like I was beneath you, making me feel small, hiding me from your friends. And all the while, you were screwing Grant Morrison and complaining about how ordinary I was. I never meant. Yes, you did. You meant every word, every look, every casual cruelty. And you know what the worst part is? I let you. I let you make me feel like I wasn't good enough, like I needed to earn your approval. I stepped closer. But here's the thing, Victoria. I was never the problem. You were. You're so obsessed with status and image that you forgot to become someone worth knowing. You're empty. All surface, no substance. And now everyone's going to see it. What are you going to do? Me? Nothing. I don't need to do anything. You've already destroyed yourself. I turned to walk away. Tom, wait. Please. Don't do this. I need this club. My career depends on it. I stopped. Then you should have thought about that before you betrayed me. I'm begging you. Beg Grant. I'm done. I walked back into the ballroom, leaving her on the terrace. The next week was glorious. Monday morning, Grant's wife filed for divorce. The papers were delivered to his office, and by noon, everyone in their social circle knew. The evidence was apparently extensive. Text messages, photos, hotel receipts. Someone had been very thorough in documenting the affair. That someone was me. I'd hired a private investigator the day after finding Victoria's texts. Not for revenge, at least not initially. I'd wanted to know the full scope of what I was dealing with. The investigator had been thorough, and I'd made sure every piece of evidence found its way to Mrs. Morrison's lawyer. Grant was suspended from his firm pending an ethics investigation. Apparently some of his affairs had been with clients, which was a big no-no in the banking world. Tuesday, Victoria called me 17 times. I didn't answer. Wednesday, she showed up at my apartment. I didn't let her in. Thursday, her law firm put her on administrative leave. The scandal was affecting their reputation, and several clients had requested different representation. Friday, I had lunch with my father at the club. You've been busy, he said, cutting into his steak. Just tying up loose ends. Victoria's membership application was rejected this morning. Oh. The board felt she didn't represent the values of Gilded Pines. Something about character and integrity. I smiled. Shame. Tom, are you sure about all this? It's pretty brutal. Dad, she cheated on me. She humiliated me. She made me feel worthless. And she was using me to get access to this club, to your world. She deserves everything she's getting. He nodded slowly. Just make sure you don't become the thing you're fighting against. I won't. It began as I said it. I wondered if it was true. Because I was enjoying this. Watching Victoria's carefully constructed world crumble. Watching her friends abandon her. Watching her realize that without the right connections, without the right image, she was nothing. Maybe that made me cruel. Or maybe it just made us even. The final blow came 3 weeks later. Victoria had been trying to rebuild. She'd left the law firm and joined a smaller practice. She'd been networking furiously, trying to salvage her social standing. She'd even started dating someone new, some tech entrepreneur she'd met at a charity event. I'd been watching from a distance, letting her think she was recovering. Then I got a call from Pete, my friend who bartended at the club. Tom, you need to hear this. What's up? Victoria was here today. She convinced someone to bring her as a guest. She's been telling people that you two are still together, that the breakup was a misunderstanding, that you're working things out. I felt something cold settle in my chest. She's what? She's using your name to get back into people's good graces, saying she's practically Mrs. Granger, that she'll have full access to the club once you two reconcile. Thanks for the heads up, Pete. I hung up and sat there, thinking. Victoria had gone too far. The club's annual charity auction was the following Saturday, the biggest event of the season. Everyone who was anyone would be there, including Victoria, who'd secured an invitation through her new boyfriend. I arrived early, dressed in my best suit, custom-tailored this time, courtesy of my father's tailor. I looked good. I felt good. I was ready. Victoria arrived at 7 with her boyfriend, a nervous-looking guy in his 30s who kept adjusting his tie. She saw me immediately, and I watched her calculation. She was deciding whether to approach me or avoid me. She chose approach. "Tom," she said, smile bright and fake. "So good to see you." "Victoria, this is Jeremy. Jeremy, this is Tom Granger. His family owns the club." Jeremy's handshake was weak. "Nice to meet you, man. Victoria's told me so much about you." "Has she?" I looked at Victoria. "What exactly has she told you?" "That you two used to date. That it ended amicably. That you're still friends." "Friends," I repeated. "That's interesting." Victoria's smile tightened. "Tom, can we talk? Privately? I don't think that's a good idea. Please, just 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I agreed. We walked to a quiet corner, away from the crowd. "What are you doing?" I asked. "What do you mean? Don't play dumb. You've been telling people we're getting back together, using my name to rehabilitate your reputation." "I never said we were getting back together. I said we were friends. That's not a crime." "It's a lie." "Tom, please. I'm trying to rebuild my life. Can't you just let me have this?" "Let you have what? Permission to use me? Again? It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" She looked at me, and for a moment, I saw something real in her eyes. Desperation. "I have nothing," she said quietly. "My job is gone. My friends won't return my calls. Grant won't even look at me. You destroyed everything." "I destroyed nothing. You did this to yourself. By making one mistake? By having an affair? People do it all the time, Tom. It's not that big a deal." "It is to me, because you're self-righteous and vindictive." And there it was, the real Victoria, finally showing her face. "No," I said calmly, "because I have standards, and you don't meet them." I started to walk away, but she grabbed my arm. "If you don't let me back in, I'll tell everyone the truth about how you manipulated this whole situation. How you used your family's money and influence to destroy me." I looked at her hand on my arm, then at her face. "Go ahead," I said. "Tell them. See if anyone believes you. See if anyone cares." I pulled my arm free and walked back into the main ballroom. The auction was starting. My father was at the podium, welcoming everyone. "Before we begin," he said, "I want to take a moment to address something. It's come to my attention that there's been some confusion about membership policies at Gilded Pines." The room quieted. "Let me be clear. Membership here is a privilege, not a right. It's based on character, on respect, on how you treat others. We've always prided ourselves on being a club that values integrity above all else." He paused, looking directly at Victoria. "Recently, we've had an issue with someone misrepresenting their relationship with this club and with my family. Someone who has been using our name to gain social advantage while demonstrating a complete lack of the values we hold dear." Victoria's face went white. "I won't name names. I don't need to. But I want to make this clear. Anyone caught lying about their association with Gilded Pines, anyone caught using our reputation for personal gain without authorization, will be permanently banned from this property. No exceptions." The room was silent. "Now, let's begin the auction." Victoria fled. I watched her go, Jeremy trailing behind her, confused. I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction. Just a strange emptiness. My father found me after the auction. "Too much?" he asked. "Maybe. She was using you, Tom." "I know. Then why do you look like you regret this?" I thought about it. "Because I became the thing I hated. I used power and influence to destroy someone, just like she would have done to me. That's not the same thing, isn't it?" He put his hand on my shoulder. "Tom, you defended yourself. You set boundaries. You protected your reputation. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect." Maybe he was right. Or maybe we were both wrong. Nsama. 2 months later, I was having coffee at a cafe downtown when I saw Victoria. She was with Jeremy, the tech entrepreneur. They looked happy. She was laughing at something he'd said, her hand on his arm. She saw me at the same moment I saw her. For a second, we just looked at each other. Then she smiled, a real smile, not the fake one she used to wear, and gave me a small nod. I nodded back. She looked different, softer, somehow, less polished. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater, her hair down. She looked like a real person instead of a carefully curated image. Maybe losing everything had been good for her. Or maybe I was just telling myself that to feel better about what I'd done. I finished my coffee and left, walking back toward my car. My phone buzzed, a text from my father. "Board meeting next week. Time to make it official. Proud of you, son. I should have felt excited. This was what I'd been working toward for years. Taking over the club. Building something meaningful. Instead, I just felt tired. I got in my car and drove home, thinking about Victoria, about Grant, about all the people I'd destroyed in my quest for revenge. Had it been worth it? I honestly didn't know. What I did know was this. Revenge is satisfying in the moment. It feels good to watch your enemies fall, to see justice, or what you think is justice, served. But afterward, when the dust settles and the anger fades, you're left with yourself, with the choices you made, with the person you became in pursuit of payback. And sometimes, that person is someone you don't recognize. I pulled into my parking spot and sat there, engine off, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from an unknown number. Tom, it's Victoria. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to say thank you. What you did, exposing me, destroying my reputation, it was the wake-up call I needed. I was a terrible person, shallow, cruel, selfish. You were right about all of it. I'm working on being better. I hope you are too. Take care. I read the message 3 times, then I deleted it. Some bridges are meant to stay burned. I got out of my car and walked into my apartment, closing the door on that chapter of my life. Tomorrow, I'd take over the club. I'd build something good, something meaningful. But tonight, I'd sit with the uncomfortable truth that revenge, no matter how justified, leaves scars on everyone involved, including the person who sought it. The board meeting was everything I'd expected. Formal, stuffy, full of old men in expensive suits, talking about quarterly earnings and membership retention. But at